Afternoon. Preparing for Navy is a very difficult chore. Ken Niumatalolo has done an incredible job, obviously, in developing his program, and currently carrying an 8-game winning streak. Has developed not only his offense to the point where they compete nationally. I voted for him in the USA Today top 25 as a top 25 team. I think they've earned that. But their defense as well has developed and has played the kind of defense that I think top 25 team plays. So we all know about individually Keenan Reynolds and what he has accomplished in NCAA football. We certainly don't want him to get the record, although it's a great achievement. If he's to get that record, they're going to have a great day here, and we can't afford him to do that. So we know we've got our hands full to stop a very potent offensive attack. Coach does a great job of utilizing multiple formations, multiple looks, and running their offense. Obviously, you know, quarterback who's played against us for 4 years, we're very aware of him, and very great deal of respect for the Naval Academy and what they represent. And again, defensively, you know, a team that I think has just gotten better and better from a defensive standpoint. So our guys understand the challenge. Should be a great football game, and one we're certainly looking forward to getting back out on the field and getting a W here at Notre Dame Stadium. So with that, open it up to questions.
Brian, you talked Sunday about talking to the captains about the goals moving forward. How confident are you that a one-loss Notre Dame team can make the playoffs?
I don't know. But we do know what we can control, and that is, you know, winning each week. So what we really talked about is that we have no margin for error, and, you know, we have to pay attention to every detail. And so it was really about, you know, the focus of this group is 1 week at a time. And each game is the biggest and most important game that we play, and really focusing them on that. And can't concern yourself with big picture. You really have to focus on 1 week at a time, and that was really the conversation.
And a year ago, you found yourself in a similar position, coming off a tough loss at Florida State, playing Navy. What gives you confidence that you're in better shape? Because last year, obviously, injuries caused the problem, but you've had injuries this year already. What makes you confident that this season you're better prepared to continue on the way you're going?
Well, I think that's a different team. Last year's team, this year's team, leadership is different. The players are different. You know, we'll be at home. We have to travel back on the road to Arizona State last year. So being at home certainly makes a big difference, not having the travel. Certainly different makeup of this group from a leadership standpoint. You know, I think just the circumstances and the team is different from last year's team.
And Joe Schmidt had a good game against Georgia Tech. I think he had a pretty good game last year against Navy. What allows him to be a good middle linebacker against the option?
I think, you know, first of all, Joe's built for that inside-out game, and physically is strong. He can take on a guard. He's very aware of how to play the option. But I think more than anything else, he's built for that inside-out game that you have to play when you're talking about stopping the fullback and then working your way out to the quarterback. I think a true middle linebacker enjoys these kinds of games more so than maybe the spread of, you know, being displaced a little bit out of the box and, you know, have to worrying about covering down and then coming back in. So I think these are games that true middle linebackers really enjoy.
And how much of an advantage is it for Navy that they've seen what you did against Georgia Tech? Does it make it harder, and do you have to come up with a totally different plan or just have some slight changes?
Well, I think there's advantages on both sides, Tom. I think certainly they're going to look at the plan that we had and dissect that and look at things that they can do to attack it. But on the other hand, our guys were able to walk out yesterday and line up in our defense and know, their keys and know what to do relative to option. We hit the ground running yesterday. We're able to work on maybe some of the nuances that you can't work on it when you're just trying to figure out how to line up. So I think that there's certainly some things that we're going to have to tweak a little bit. But I can tell you that I much rather have already played Georgia Tech and played an option offense than not have played any.
And a little off topic, this past week on Saturday, 2 teams had players tweeting out during games. Wondering if you have any rule about that, and is there any rule as far as players having their phones, at halftime or during the game at all?
Yeah, we prohibit the use of cell phones, and certainly at any time during a game, they are not to be used. That is a rule within the program. Relative to our players, they do have them with them because they listen to music on the bus. They'll even use music in the locker room. So we're aware that they have them, but they know that they can't be on their phones at any time when we're together as a football team when we put our uniforms on.
Does someone monitor during the games to make sure that no one tweets anything, or is there any?
We check. We have somebody that checks Twitter for our players. Nobody's assigned to Twitter during the game, though we have a few people that are watching Twitter actively during the games because we have a lot of things going on during the games as well. Yeah.
Brian, other side here. Yeah. Torii Hunter had a really productive night, I thought, on Saturday, and I recall you saying maybe 2 weeks ago that he was one of those guys that was just kind of waiting for an opportunity, and if he got it, you thought he might be able to break out. What have you seen from him the last couple of weeks that's led you to believe that, and kind of what's the next step for him, and how does he get more time on the field? Honestly,
I don't think it's just been the last couple of weeks. I think it's been all preseason camp. I think he's done the things necessary for him to be, a featured player within our offense. I think it's just been a matter of getting his chance and his opportunities. Amir's playing at that position, so he's sharing a position more so than, say, Will, where Will is out there, playing 95% of the snaps. So I think it's just getting his opportunities, and when he gets them, making the best of them. He was clearly at that position had many more opportunities based upon the way coverages were being dictated in that particular game. But just to finish, I don't think it's been something over the last couple of weeks. This is something that we really saw in him, and it was coming along even through spring and summer.
What are some of the particular things you think he does really well?
I think, first of all, he catches the ball very well. He's a pretty smart player. He's savvy. He can run after the catch. So, I think he possesses all of the tools. If there's different tools a receiver has. He's physical at the point of contact when he blocks. Again, the little things that you look for, I think he's got a good sense of the game, football savvy, and then, he's got speed and the ability to run after the catch.
What sort of response do you think is necessary from your team after last Saturday, and have you seen it so far?
The response is to win. That's the response that we're looking for, and to win football games, you have to start fast, which we did not. There has to be an attention to detail, which certainly we were missing that at times. We got great effort, and we finished strong. So we were missing 2 of the 4 real key components that I'll be looking for this weekend. And as long as we have those 4 key components, I'll take a win by 1. That'd be fine with me. But we need those 4 key components. That's what I'll be looking for.
Do you notice in them that there's a sour taste? I mean, are they still upset, or do you not let them be? Do they just have to get over it?
Well, I think everyone is disappointed in losing a game where we know that, we caused a lot of the issues in the game. And certainly Clemson's a very good football team, and, they played well, but we know we didn't play our very best, and we're accountable for that, everybody, players and coaches alike. So we got to move on. We know what we need to do better, and we look forward to doing that this weekend.
Brian, when you play Navy and you look at them on film, how true are they week to week offensively to what they did the week before? Or are they running things out of different formations? And
Ken is incredible in terms of the formations. What they do that is different from Georgia Tech is formations, a myriad of formations. I mean, too many to count. Now, their base is triple option, you know, and they're gonna operate out of their base, and there'll be counter option, and there'll be lead toss, and you know, the tenets of triple option is the base, and they're going to throw the football, and there's going to be some gadget plays within it, but it's formationing you in so many different ways that you have to look at all of those things and get into you know, the right defensive looks, because it becomes a numbers game if you're not in the right defensive alignments.
you know, given the fact that I think only 6 of the 46 points in the Clemson game were scored when that team was going into the wind and the rain, what did you take away from your offensive line's performance? Because, again, they were probably facing some tilted defenses when you were at the disadvantage weather-wise.
Well, it was a game where it was going to be very difficult to run the football, and Clemson, that was their plan. I mean, they had plenty of time to define what they wanted to do defensively, and they made a concerted effort of making sure that there was going to be an extra player involved in the run game, and give them credit for it. That's what they wanted to do, and they stuck with it. You know, I thought our guys responded by giving us plenty of time to throw the football, and we didn't catch it as well as we needed to, and we probably had some opportunities to, you know, throw the ball to some open receivers that we missed, but there was enough there for us to win the game. So our offensive line provided us the opportunity necessary for us to win the game. We didn't get all 11 players, you know, playing at the level necessary for us to win the game at the very end.
And can you talk about C.J. Prosise's kind of reaction to maybe being hit at or behind the line of scrimmage so much, and yet at the end of the game in the passing game, he was a big part of that. Just talk about his demeanor during the game and how he reacted. Very
well. I mean, he's one of those players that is going to do exactly what you ask him to do, and you know, if you ask him to be a pass catcher out of the backfield, he's certainly going to do that, and he feels comfortable doing it. You know, as for tackles behind the line of scrimmage, some of them were, you know, certainly Clemson getting a great push up front. Some of them where we could have done a better job relative to play calling and when we called certain plays. And, you know, we put in some schemes that I think we needed to do a better job just coordinating at the time we put them in. So I think a little bit of coaching, you know, in that regard, and probably a little bit of inexperience at running back contributed. I wouldn't put it all on the offensive line. I think some of it contributed to it, but some of it, a little bit better coaching, a little bit better experience at the running back position. I think all those things together kind of equaled some of the TFLs.
Max didn't play against Georgia Tech the last time. He's in a different place, I would assume. This week, without Drew, does it make sense to have Max part of your defensive package this week?
Yeah, Max will start. As I'd mentioned in our teleconference, played his best game since he's been here. He was physical, double-digit tackles, was our highest point producer, played the kind of football, and that's the bar. I mean, you know, what we have to have from Max is a consistency from week to week, and we brought him in and we talked to him about that. And that's the kind of football he's capable of, and we need to see that kind of performance week in and week out. He played very well against Navy last year, and we expect a similar performance on Saturday.
Just overall 5 games in, how would you evaluate your run defense?
I think our front 7 is good. I think we've got a good front 7. Our safeties played very well. against a Clemson team. We've got to get continuously better and better at the cornerback position.
Brian, to your left. What do you find the week following a loss, practice week following a loss, is your biggest challenge generally to get the team refocused, especially after a primetime loss like that one?
I don't think that there will be much problem today. We started already yesterday. After we meet on Monday and we talk about the game and we watch it and go through the film, we put it behind us. We have 24 hours to lament it and talk about what we could have done and the should-haves and the could-haves, and then we have a pretty frank discussion about the things that we need to do better, both as a staff and as players, and then we go back to work. So Navy presents a very difficult challenge. We cannot let Clemson beat us twice. So we've got to get to work, and our kids went right back to work yesterday.
Aside from the fact that they're a good opponent, does that actually help a little that you are playing a better
absolutely.
opponent?
Look, they've been in many of very difficult challenges with Navy. Last year, the year before, and they know what challenges are in front of us. Playing a member from the Naval Academy and how they compete for 4 quarters is like no other team that you play.
You talked about Navy's defense. I think their offense has been good since you've been here, but their D really only your first year and before you got here was a quality defense. Obviously, it's the best since your first year, but what have you seen from them?
Yeah, it reminds me of year 1 in 2010. Stout inside with the tackles, athletic off the edge, and experienced corners and safety play. It's just a veteran defense. They play smart. They know what their strengths are. They know what their weaknesses are. Just a very smart, well-coached group.
Brian, is there anything you can take away from 2011 or 2013 when you played multiple option teams in a season as you come off Georgia Tech to play Navy?
Well, the system is different from, it was Air Force and Army, and the systems are a little bit different. These are a little bit more similar in the sense that, they're both, true triples, and, the quarterbacks are very similar. So the game wreckers are both at the quarterback position. They necessarily weren't that at Air Force and at Army. They were at some different other positions. So this is the challenge that we face, is the quarterback in both instances with Georgia Tech and Navy. But it's still assignment football in all cases. It's still having players that recognize and understand how important it is to play, option football, and it's different than what they practice all the time. So the similarities are more than what they're dissimilar, but I'd say Georgia Tech and Navy are probably as similar as any option teams we've played.
Switching gears a bit, I think Ronnie Stanley went out for the coin toss. Can you just clarify what he is allowed or not allowed to do in terms of captains, whether it's game or season or of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, just he doesn't have the designation of a captain here at Notre Dame.
So it could be a game tap, presumably then, since the coin toss? He went out Saturday.
Did he go out for the coin toss?
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of it, but
Okay.
he's allowed to go out for a coin toss. It doesn't designate him as a captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Brian, just injuries, Luatua and Quentin.
Yeah.
So where are they this week?
Luatua's been cleared for contact today, so he'll go through contact. We're going to keep Quentin in a boot through today. We'll take the boot off tomorrow and then start running him. He improved dramatically from not moving that ankle around over the last 36 hours, or less than 36 hours now. Our protocol is any type of high ankle sprain, we like to get you in a boot, keep it immobile. He's not a wide receiver, so we feel pretty confident that we can get him back, but we'll see how he responds tomorrow when we start moving him around.
He, after the injury, he still played quite a bit.
He did.
With a high ankle sprain. Is
Played
that
pretty
does
good.
it speak to his pain tolerance or what?
I think it speaks to his pain tolerance and the position in which he plays. I don't think he could have operated quite as well on the perimeter.
With the receiver position, with Corey struggling a little bit, do you work? Can you or would you work Hunter in there more, or could you even go to St. Brown, or is he just strictly behind Will right now and not in a position to play multiple?
Those are all feasible. Those are all reasonable thoughts. Corey Robinson is going to get the job done for us. I had a very lengthy conversation with him yesterday. I believe in Corey. Corey's got to believe in himself, and he will. You know, he's got to go attack the football. He's letting the football come to him. He's letting it eat him up a little bit. But I believe in Corey, and once he starts attacking the football, I think we're going to see somebody that you know, can make the plays that we expect him to make. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see the guy that we need to see on Saturday.
On the topic of starting fast, I mean, if you knew how to trigger that every time, this would never be an issue.
Yeah.
And you would have all the answers, and you'd be up 14-0 at the end of every first quarter.
Which we pretty much have been all year.
When it doesn't happen, are there any signs going into, or does it just happen and then you have to find some new buttons to push? I guess I'm asking, is there anything that you would see as like, well, that's a sign this might happen today?
Well, there's a couple of things, and again, you know, it's all hindsight and some of it's conjecture, but you know, that was a fast offense, and it took us a while to kind of settle into it. You know, coming off of playing a good team in UMass and an option team, we then saw a very, very fast and athletic Clemson team, and it took us a little while to acclimate ourselves, quite frankly. By the time we got up off the canvas, it was 14-0. And we did acclimate ourselves and played very, very good defense the rest of the way in. Now, who knows if we don't have a 15-yard punt, whether it's 14-0. I can't say. However, we started slow. Is it the hour and 15-minute bus ride that we're not used to taking prior to a game? I don't know. But we did start slow. And believe me, we look at everything when it comes to those things. And we can't have slow starts. So our guys know what the mantra is. They know how important it is to get off to a fast start. And if we get off to slow starts, we're going to be in trouble in every game that we play.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian. Last year, for the first month and a half, you switched around some of the offensive line personnel. I was wondering if for running back, does it help to be running behind the same 5 guys since spring ball this year? Is there kind of a...
Well, you know, I would say normally yes, it would. But in our situation with a first-year running back and C.J. Prosise and 2 freshmen, I don't think they even know their numbers. So they're just really finding themselves at their own position per se, and they are so focused on their own job and making sure that their assignment correct, and they're trying to do everything that they can, you know, to be good at their position. I would say it probably means a little bit more to a guy like Folston, you know, who knows, you know, how some guys are going to take on a particular block and how they're going to work. But the 3 guys that we've got back there right now, they're really focused on doing their job.
And generally speaking, is that something a veteran running back will kind of build a connection with the offensive line? I guess similar to that kind of subconscious connection between maybe a quarterback and a receiver. When they have enough reps together, they understand where a lineman might block, how many steps before you take. Is there any connection?
I don't think it's personally individual in a sense as much as it is the whole unit and how the particular scheme is set up. So I think it's recognition of the scheme more so than Quentin Nelson trap blocks a little bit different than Alex Bars. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, I've got a trap block here in front of me, and this is how I have to react as a running back. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I was also wondering, last one on this, could you talk about the communication between the offensive linemen and maybe the difference that you're seeing between this year and last year? It's something we can't necessarily see on film, but maybe you can see from field level.
Well, I think, you know, we're working a second quarterback in, so there's a change there. But You know, our issues relative, we didn't communicate much at all. We were in silent the whole game. You know, Mike's got to hold his water. Mike McGlinchey was tipping, you know, back out of his stance. One time we think that he was baited offside, but, you know, that's the way it goes. And then we did manage the 25-second clock. So I don't know if you were referring to penalties or in general communication, the quarterback is communicating simply with the offensive lineman, and then he's changing protections or changing plays. And I thought Deshaun did a terrific job of getting us in the right protections, communicating with the offensive line in a very loud environment.
Coach, I want to ask you a question pertaining to the Showtime adventure that's going on, and the fact that, like, after a loss, a lot of times there's a lot of comments, a lot of chirping and stuff, but it seemed like almost to a person that people you talked to after the game were like, but Chris Brown is a great kid. I saw that on the Showtime. You know, they've gotten to know the kids a little bit better through the Showtime experience, and it seems like everybody's a little more understanding. I know, as you said, you talked to players about certain things in the game, but did you find that there's a little more positive attitude toward the whole thing because they're getting to know some of the kids and seeing them in different environments?
You know, I really haven't thought about it in those terms. You know, I think when we entered into this agreement with Showtime, it was, here's who we are. You could take a look at it and make your own observations. And, you know, if you like us, you like us. If you don't, you don't. You'll have your own opinions. I think Chris Brown's a great kid, and not surprised that people would formulate those opinions. He needs to catch the darn ball when we throw it to him, but that doesn't make him a bad kid. He's a great kid. And that's how we feel about all of our guys, you know. We think we've got good kids that like to compete. We just, you know, we think we just want to show truly who we are. We're competitors, and we want to represent Notre Dame in a positive way, both on and off the field.
I want to ask you about your tie. I don't think that's by accident. Is that pink? It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I can't tell. Is that pink or not?
This is about as Notre Dame as we can get
Blue and
today.
gold? Oh,
yeah, I wore a pink shirt last week, but this is gold and blue representing Notre Dame today. But it is Breast Cancer Awareness Week, and I appreciate you bringing that up. This has been a big week for our foundation and my wife's work with Pocky's Playbook. If you've been out, she's been out playing golf, and she's been out doing a little bit of everything in the community. I haven't seen her in about 3 weeks. I saw her last night, and she said she couldn't walk after the Zumba. So, was anybody at Zumba? Eric? He ran, you. So, thanks for asking about Zumba. Next question, please.
Over here, Coach, to your right, far right there. When Brian Van Gorder came in, there was the anticipation of perhaps more forceful defense, aggressive one. Last 8 games, been able to force only 6 turnovers and never more than 1 in a game. Is that a point of emphasis, or are you looking first for just fundamental soundness? Because at some point, you know, turning a game around maybe with a turnover or 2, flipping the field, besides just with the punting game, might aid the defense or the overall unit.
Yeah, you know, no question that turnovers are, you know, something that, you know, when you're playing defense, you're always talking about and you know, preaching and really trying to indoctrinate your players into, you know, getting those turnovers. But, you know, you've got to be in the right place. You know, you've got to tackle well. You've got to do the fundamentals right first before you know, start getting those turnovers. And just being aggressive by nature doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the turnovers that you're looking for. So, you know, I know what we do in practice. You know, we're working at stripping the ball. We're you know, we actually, you know, changed our practice format this year where we actually thud our back, where we come up and put our shoulder into the back and That's something that I hadn't done in probably 15 years, to prepare our backs for getting hit when we go against our defense, and so we can have good tackling and work at the next guy stripping the ball. So we're working at it. Sometimes you just have to have some of those playmakers get in there and make those kinds of plays.
The cornerback position was considered maybe one of your stronger areas there. What do you specifically want to see improved there to maybe enhance the overall defense?
Consistency from Cole. He makes a great play at the end of the game and sees the ball and is in great position. We just need more consistency, from Cole. He does some really good things. We just need to see that on a more consistent basis. And Kavari works so hard in practice, and we just need to see that translate itself into the games. And it hasn't got there yet. We think maybe the year off has been a bit of a transition for him, but he works so hard in practice, and the want to and the desire is there, and we think that there's going to be that breakthrough for him.
Thank you.
Ryan, down the middle here. You mentioned Deshaun and protections. What allows a quarterback who only has 3 career starts to be that successful in getting their protections right?
Well, it's where we start with our quarterbacks, and the development of our quarterbacks when they come in is they have to learn protections first, because I won't put them on the field until they learn how to protect themselves. So it's in our teaching methodology first, and then acumen. He has a great understanding of the game and how protections work. So, in the recruiting process, you're looking for somebody that's going to have that IQ, that football IQ, that can pick those things up. So, when they come up and we spend time with them and we bring them into meetings, we're asking questions about those types of things. And if we're not getting a good connection relative to some of the questions that we're asked, that may not be the right fit for us. So he had all those things coming in, and we just worked and developed them.
I think he showed a little more escapability than maybe we had seen in the last couple of games. I think there was a play where there was an unblocked blitzer coming off the field side, and he evaded him and picked up 20-something yards in it. What did he show you about that ability against Clemson?
Well, first of all, he's a big kid. He's 230 pounds. He's 6'5". People don't realize how big he is, and if you don't take him on the right way, he's going to be able to get out of it. I think one that, and I know which one you're talking about, but one which is probably even a better illustration is that our running back didn't pick up a blitzer off the edge. He shook that off and threw a completion to the right-hand side. And that, to me, was even more impressive, that he could keep his eyes downfield on an unblocked blitzer, shake it off, and throw the football. Those things, can't teach him. Just has that ability to do those kinds of things within the pocket. And, we always thought he had the escapability, but he can do a little bit more than that.
15 carries, I know, talk about it like a red line with CJ, but is there a red line for a quarterback with Deshaun?
Well, those carries are misrepresented in that those were scrambles. Actual called runs were 4. So, I wouldn't, we don't need 15. We don't need 11 scrambles. That's for sure.
Brian, on kickoff return, you've got 3 possibilities listed on the depth chart. How will you make that decision this week?
We'll keep practicing them this week, keep working on it, and then, probably make a decision on Thursday, which is our last special teams day, where, we go through all of our special teams. Generally, Thursday is our day that we make that final decision, so I'll probably make it on Thursday.
And then with Reynolds and Swain, they have played together so much in that backfield. Do you see a lot of that collaboration or cohesion between them and the way they move as they run that option?
Absolutely. I mean, it's as good as there is out there. I mean, that's why they're so successful and very, very difficult to stop. I mean, he could pull that ball out as late as anybody on the read and triple option. So you have to be really good against them. And nobody's been good enough over the last 8 games that they've played. That's why they're a difficult team to defend.
Thank you.